Hello everyone and welcome to episode 100 of Skyrim All Premium Creations playthrough. I'm doing this a little bit early, but as I'm recording this, it is the 22nd of March. So if there's anything added beyond Halalu, uh sorry I missed it, but this is for the 100 episode special and I'm going to be reviewing all the creations so far aside from, this guy's separate plant packs. I just threw volume 1 in there. So on my right screen off camera, I have the pricing of them. So we'll put that into effect as well. So without further ado, let's begin with Winterfrost. So Winterfrost is a player home, and there's going to be a ton of these in the categories of the mods, but for this one, it costs 600 credits, and from the little amount of time I played with it on this series, I would have to say, if it didn't seem really too optimized for survival mode. So I'm going to have to give it a C tier because it did give you that sword and there's like a small story behind it. $6 though, it's a bit hefty. I would put it higher because it had the automation. Well, not automation, but it had pretty clean chests organization. Shade Tree Lodge, that's also a player home. It's $5, and I didn't get to use it much, but I'd say if you want to live in the Rift, I'd also have to give it a C tier. Maybe, yeah, a C tier for the pricing. It's not, it's $5 for a house. That's crazy. Legendary Dungeons, the Dwarven Delves. Now this one, I had a lot of fun with it. It was pretty challenging in some places, but there's a lot of content. There's some uniques. May not be uniquely designed like the Querbus and stuff, but I would have to say for $4 for two mega dungeons, it's $2 per dungeon, and you can spend upwards to like 2 to 4 hours in each. I would have to give it a about, I'd say an A tier. Pretty all right. It would be an S tier if it was a little cheaper, but it's an A tier for being $4. Eastern Empire expansions, I'm not even going to deny it. That is straight up an S rank. I'm still completing it if I haven't already by the time this is out. I'm pretty sure I'm still working on it. But it helps you get a lot of materials. It sucks in the beginning, but it's like a snowball effect. You can get everything you could ever want in terms of miscellaneous stuff. Aquaribus, it's $6. Got a decent dungeon, decent story, and some uniqueness. I mean, I want to put it in A tier, but it's kind of novelty. You have to craft the gunpowder to make the bullets for it. It's kind of cool, but if you're not really looking for anything else, a crossbow's just as good. Katja, S tier. No, I'm kidding. As much as Katja's been with me, $4 for someone who constantly calls you boss. I'll give her a B tier. Like, she's all right. She's very tough, and since she's essential, it helps out. And she doesn't add to the follower limit, so she can just be there by your side the entire time, which is awesome. Aldmary, anti-mage for $4 for, it's literally $1 per set. $1 for the boots, the armor, the gauntlets, and the helmet. I mean, it does spawn on the other enemies, so it adds a little bit to your game, but it's whatever. It's whatever. Like, just way too expensive. Morthal, I'm not entirely sure what this does. Like, I guess it adds a few player homes for people to go back to in the story. I haven't really noticed anything, so I'm just gonna throw it in the low D tier. In fact, I'm gonna put Koch a little bit above Aquarius, but I haven't noticed anything really with that. It's kind of it's there, but it's not really. Now, Echoes of the Veil. This is a tough one. It adds a lot in terms of the veil, but the downside being it's $8. I would say if it was a $5 expansion, I'd probably put it in S tier. But the extra $3 that it's charging, you do get a Veil Sabercat pet, you do get a unique armor set, and you do get a unique staff. But for $8, well, I'm gonna put it a little bit above Aquarius, but if I'm saying that wrong, I apologize. But Thief Hideouts, $6. Man, these are expensive. Thief Hideouts, it's whatever. I mean, if you're a thief and you're role playing, there's a patch that implements the Saints and Seducers. So I'd say with the patch, it would probably like fit right into the Saints and Seducers creation from the anniversary. But again, for $6, and I think you only get 4 hideouts, I'm gonna say it's high C tier. I might put it in between Winterfrost. Thar Caverns. I don't even remember it. Like, I'm pretty sure it's a player home, but I don't want to live in a mushroom field. I don't want to do that. Like, I know there were some enemies and stuff. I don't even know if it's a player home. No, it's not. Never mind. It is $1 though. It's $1 for a small dungeon. Okay, since it's not a player home and it's only $1, I'll put it above. I'll put it still in C tier because low B tier. Classic dialogue menu. That's entirely like a cosmetic choice. I personally like it. Maybe not as much as Eastern Empire expansion, but you get it for $2, and it kind of changes how the world is looked. You could probably find something cheaper on Nexus, like for free for the UI, like Nordic UI or some other. But I like it. It changes up the game. But if we're comparing it to every other premium creation, and we're not comparing it to Nexus, because this is what it is. This is just the premium creations being compared to one another. Silent Moon weapons. Now, for $6, you get all these decent looking weapons, but the dungeon it's in is boring. The weapons themselves can't be enhanced, so therefore kind of useless. And the guy who made it, the name is the Rizzler. So we're gonna just put this in avoid at all costs. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. I do not recommend this whatsoever. I know the weapons look cool, but they're not viable. And it's no, absolutely not. Spell tome crafting. This is the most annoying, headache inducing thing I've ever had to deal with. And for $5, that's a few new spells. I haven't really got to try it. I would say the grind, it adds a little bit of hours to your time. But for $5, mm, I'd say low C tier, like upper middle. It's all right. Gives the college some life. Legendary Dungeons Nordic. I'm actually going to put that at a surprising S tier. For $4, same as the Dwemer Ruins. I really liked being able to go into the Soul Cairn. It was really nice. It was really cool. It was really fun and unique. Let's say it's a pretty good mod to add to your mod list. Bard's College expansion. Now, currently I haven't played all the way through it, but the fact it adds trash talking and a whole use for your shouts and stuff like that with resonance crystals to empower them, and you can make ballads and be a bard, and like immediately just changes up the game. So definitely would recommend one of the best creations yet. Forgotten Armory Phase 3. Now, Gilda Boy, hope I'm saying your name right. You've caused me so much trouble with these mods. And the Forgotten Armory does include a teleport to the base, which makes it quintessential for looting everything and having a quick way of just depositing all your stuff on the run. But considering that when you released this and you changed everything to nav mesh instead of doing that before you released it, I'm gonna have to deduct some points. Now, Forgotten Armory, if it wasn't for the home teleport, I would throw you in a void at all costs. But because the teleport to the house, to the cell that it's in, is so good, I'm gonna throw you in low B tier instead. It is so good, so useful. It has your enchanting tables, alchemy tables, smelter, forge, and even a unique forgotten forge for the the weapons that come in on it. You can disenchant, get forgotten blood ingots. Messages and bottles, it's $5. I mean, you get 2 cooking recipes and like a scavenge hunt. I'd say not worth it. Like, absolutely not worth it. Probably even less so than the Aldemary anti-mage armor. Zilla's monstrous dragons retexture. Really good, really cool. $3 for some retexturing. Maybe a little bit above the Equibus. I'd say it changes up the game a little bit. If you add that to like your pre-existing mod list, I'd say it would fit right in. Really nice. The only problem is with the eyes being separated from the rest of it. The eyes can still remain even though it's a skeleton. It doesn't happen all the time, but I've noticed that. Listeners Initiates, I'd done that recently for $6. It's $3 per initiate. The voice acting, good. The storyline, pretty good. I'm a big fan of hers. For $6, I'd say if it was $3 or $4, I'd say it'd be more reasonable. But $6, that's a decent amount of playtime, but considering the prerequisite you have to do to start this, you have to be a decent amount of playtime to get to these. So I'd say she is a very, very good mage, rivaling Serana. So I'm gonna say it's slightly better than Forgotten Armory. I'd say right here. It's better than these two. In fact, I'd probably put that a little bit above that. Annie's Cabin. This does conflict with a creation later down the line that we have to review, but for $4, not worth it, honestly. Like, it adds an attic, which is a separate loading cell. I don't understand why people add loading cells, like doors to doors and doors. Like, you don't want to do that. People want a home that you can just fast travel to and open one load screen instead of having to go through two. The attic's small, costs some resources. It does add a little bit of, use in a niece's cabin, but as far as I'm concerned, definitely not worth. I'd say it's a little bit better than Morthal's because I still have no idea what it does. Ancient Civilization. Now, with the patch between these two being installed, it's a lot more reasonable, because if you had this one first and that one was overriding that one, then you would only get one of these at a time. But with the patch and all the unique items that both of these add, I'd say they're about neck and neck. They had the same problems with the nav meshing. I would say this one's a little bit higher because this one has that teleport. So the cool idea of the hand placed items, but that kind of gets nullified because for whatever reason I'm finding them in the marketplaces, like in the Smith and the Khajiit Caravan. I don't know if that's intended, but it's whatever. Northern Woods Treehouse. It's $2. You get a whole zone. You don't get just the house. I wouldn't use it for the house, but for the small story that's in there and the trials you go through, I'd say that's an immediate A tier. It's really nice, really cheap. I would recommend it. I'd recommend it easily because I think it only has a horse and a carriage on the world map, so any conflictions, I doubt there will be any. Blood and Snow for another $10, like the Bard's College expansion. I would say this is definitely an S tier one as well. Not as good as the Bard's College. Maybe not even as good as the Eastern Empire expansion, but this one, it allows you to pretty much enhance yourself being a vampire or expanding on the village of Stendar. So you can actually be one of those, like be in that faction for once. So I'd say it's a quintessential thing. I think I might add this down here to low A, considering what we're having to work with. And I might drop this down to be above that. That looks a little bit cleaner. Let's see. Secrets of Rikund. Very forgettable. But for $2, what it does is it just adds a dungeon instead of it just being like an outside place. It adds an interior dungeon, which allows it to be claimed by the Eastern Empire expansion. So I would say for $2, it falls into the same category of the caverns. Like, it's there. It has use. It's cheap. Just one more loading cell, I guess. Like, dungeon. Zolf's Workshop. Now, this one's interesting because it's a player home. It's $3. But you can go around and find in random set dungeons the pieces, and where some of the pieces ended up being in one of these two places made it a little bit interesting to finish up. And for $3, and you can have like a dog equivalent, like a companion pet for the Dwemer stuff. I'd say it's pretty good. Maybe a little bit above the Aquarius, a little bit below it actually, because they do get in the way. Archer's Ornaments. Now, I don't mean to talk bad about this creation, but I'm rocking the archery build as we speak, and I'm using the final bow in this. And I gotta say, the models for these weapons are exceptional. It's really nice. However, they don't have in-game use. From the start of the game to about midway through, you kind of reach your peak with these. They fall off. They only get as strong as like Dwemer or a little bit below Ebony. But other than that, for $2, it makes the beginning of your game a little bit spicier, a little bit different, changes up a few things, gives a little bonuses to the short bows and stuff like that. So I'd say, since it changes the early game so much, where it's the beneficial that you do use them, I'd give it a high B, maybe a little bit above the dragon retexture. Sword and Spirit. For $2, you had to go craft this broken sword, go to Silent Moon's camp, build it together, kill the spirit, and then you get a sword. Never used the sword. For $2, it adds a little bit of content, but you can just use the Ghost Blade. I'm gonna be honest, the vanilla game, Ghost Blade, it's practically the same. The enchants are a little bit different, but $2, you can just use the vanilla thing as well. I'm gonna put this at a low C tier. Just because it's cheap. Yorgrim Hall. Now this, I don't remember getting any use out of this. I don't think I gave it too much time. If you want to role play as a Dwemer knight, and you pair it with the Zolf's workshop, and you have some companions with you, for $2, it's pretty good. It's definitely above Winterfrost for the pricing. Very competitive, very nice. And you can craft your own stuff there too. Give it a little Hearthfire treatment. The Hidden, this has two outcomes. It's so-so. It's not too hard. I think it's only $3. Yeah, I think it's only $3. But no, $4. $4. The PlayStation is $3. But for $4, some voice acting, I wasn't a big fan of it. The layout, it's such a big place, and for the house to have any use, you have to go through the loading screen with the cave, walk all the way through the cave, and then go to your house. It's really bad. It's really bad. The only cool thing out of this is like a unique named and enchanted ebony battle axe, I believe, called the Devourer. But $4 for a practically useless house and a small mini quest, it's whatever. Vampire Extension Framework. Now this, for $2, it adds the ability to make vampires annoying as shit. They use the bats, and it changes the way you can technically survive being killed. You just come back as a vampire, so it's all right. It changes up some things, so I'm gonna put it above Archer's Ornaments because it changes some things. But I wouldn't necessarily call it a definitive thing. Just makes coupling it with this makes it really nice. You don't know what the hell's going on. Oh, it changes, how you handle vampires. You don't know what the hell's going on. It's hard to shoot them with arrows. A little bit of difficulty. Now this Winter Ledge Manor for $3. I'm sorry, lovely Servine, but it's not good. It's not good at all. I don't like the way it's kind of like someone's first attempt at making a creation. I'd say it's still better than this because they're not charging an arm and a leg for some nonsense. But at the same time, for $3 for some weird looking house, it's ugh. I'm sorry. The Lost Doomstone. I have mixed feelings about this. You have to go to all of the standing stones, and then you get the Nern Stone, and you get all the standing stones abilities, which is great, which is cool. You get all the buffs and debuffs from it for $4, and it pretty much throws you through like a boss rush. You fight a bunch of enemies to get to it. There's two problems with this creation though. One, it crashes when you try to travel out using the Forgotten Armory. I don't know what happens, it just bugs it the hell out. The other thing is you have to reacquire it for some reason. And I think it's because the dungeon itself resets, which makes it tedious as shit to rock, because you could be in the middle of doing something and then your carry weight drops because of this running out, and it's like, I don't know why it does that, but because it does that, I'm gonna have to put it in above Spelltome Craft, maybe even above Winterfrost. It's all right, but it's so annoying. Fortress of Ice. This is only $1. It adds the hammer, the giant's hammer that you can actually equip on your character, and the gloves, the tonal gloves, I think. Whatever the college gives you that used to be a quest item, and it gives you something else, but it's only $1. A mini boss fight and a regular boss fight, and you can also use it with the Eastern Empire expansion, and it has a unique icon on the map. I'd say gives Winterhold a run for its money. You can't beat $1 for this experience. It's worth it. It's not exactly an hour of content, but it's definitely a welcome thing that you can grind in if you need frost salts as well, because there's a lot of frost Atronox in there. Fallen Heroes, Death Knight. Now, I also had the same problem with these two because he nav mesh and changed it from an ESP to an ESL, or was it an ESL to an ESP? But regardless, I also lost a bunch of ingots and stuff, but he added actual weapon variant types to the weapons and variations to the helmets, and even a fourth one. I would have put it at D tier, but he did add a few things. Now it's cool, but when wearing the armor, it has this little thing above the chest plate. I don't know what it is, but you can see it when playing, and it bugs the shit out of me. So for that reason, and also the fact it's $5, low C tier. I wouldn't really recommend it. If you're a big World of Warcraft player, maybe I'd put it a high B tier, but for me, yeah, finding them's a little bit cryptic. Finding the last one was even more cryptic, but it is what it is. Coven of Crones. Now this one for $5 for half the cost of the Bard's College expansion, the Eastern Empire expansion, and the Blood and Snow. Actually, I don't know how much this was, to be honest. How much was the Eastern Empire expansion again? Oh, this was only 7. Okay, so for $2 less than Eastern Empire expansion, you get a whole new location, a whole new world map just under Ennis's cabin. And if I didn't have the Ennis cabin thing, I would say there would be no problems. But these two don't really go together, and you had to delete a bookshelf to get to this. But I'd say that's not this creation's problem whatsoever. I don't hold it against it. The voice acting, really good. The story, really good. The amount of content you get, really good. So the unique items, also really good. I had problems with this because this is one of the first creations I had taken on. I was supposed to be apparently level 35-ish when taking it on. I turned level 3, level 7 to 3. And I got my ass kicked. But challenging boss fight. Definitely going to have to add it here right below Bard's College expansion because I love how these people try to be vanilla. But this seems like it has a little bit of a vanilla vibe. But this is also a professional group of game designers working on this, which is awesome. And I can't wait to see what else they create if they do continue creating Skyrim creations. Zilla's light armor, reworked and expanded. It adds rust leather, blood glass, and blackened dragon scale. I like it. Looks good a little bit. And I couldn't really tell a difference on why it looked the way it looked, but the blood glass and the blackened dragon scale was really nice armors. I have it on Kacha. For $3, I'd say it's an absolute steal, and I would say it's a little bit higher than Northern Trees. Truth and Legends. Now, this is another one that I would say is pretty unique. It adds Mjolnir. Pretty much you can be Thor almost. It adds the shield and a bow and a cape even to the armor set, and a tablet that you can spend Dragon Souls on. So if you're in the end game and you have nothing to do with Dragon Souls, it also gives some post end game stuff to grind out and other stuff like that. Pretty much a new play style altogether, honestly. So for that reason alone, I'm also going to add it here, a little bit behind Eastern Empire expansion, because this, although you can run it like this with anything, this one, it's like, do you really want to play as, it's I don't know what I'm going with there. Let's move on. Still really good, really good. Scrollcraft, I'm not gonna stand on this much. $5 like the Spell Tome Craft, but this one, who the fuck uses scrolls? If you can use the tome, just use the tome. No one uses scrolls. Scrolls are just kind of like, I'm broke. I'm not really a mage build. So it adds a little bit more to the college. It adds a whole NPC. You can buy the blank scrolls and make that. But it's like, nah, not really for me. River's Shadow Retreat, Narfi's house for $4 for a home that's mediocre at best. You can add a little fishing spot over here, which was pretty cool, but for $4, definitely worse than Anis's cabin. I would say probably even less so than the armor. It's forgettable, but cool little addition, I guess, to Iverstead. The end, I do not know. For $2, you get an overview of what your character's goals and accomplishments are, which is kind of cool, but he spawns in it as early as level 10, which I don't really think that's that good. And he disappears after you interact with him the first time, I believe, so you can't really see it again if you save before it. I don't know why you would want to end your character, but giving that as an option, I would say it's high C, because it's like a 20-minute, if you do everything, it's like a 20-minute cutscene practically, because it's all visually displayed out in front of you, and the voice acting is custom. So I'd say it's pretty decent if you ever want to end your character and send them off on one last overview to retire a character. Like Tenure needs to be retired, but he doesn't have this option. And I don't plan on using that until probably never, actually. Because I can't really say that I'm going to end the game if they keep coming out with this. So I guess if premium becomes a non-existent thing, then I'll probably do it. But moving on. Zillia's Elven glass and blood glass weapons changes the look of the glass and Elven and adds the blood glass weapons. I would say it pairs hand in hand for $1. I would say it goes really hand in hand with these. You can't have one without the other. Even it suggests it. So these two kind of go together. It's all right. I really like the look of the blood glass weapons. Big fan. Still use blood glass arrows for a long time. So moving on. Abyss, the Lost Levels. This is a it's a hard thing to judge because I want to be fair and critique it correctly. There are some things I really enjoyed about it, but some things I didn't enjoy about it. I believe they went with a Morrowind kind of open to your imagination on how to solve the puzzles. There was no quest, there was no hand holding, there was no quest markers displaying where to go, which I find to be both a good and negative thing. If you're stuck, there's really no way to know how to fix it, and you might get a little bit frustrated. And some things aren't too clear on what you're supposed to do, and some things were somewhat unfair and monotonous, like falling down the tower in a certain way to try to get to all the things. Great concept, but for replayability it's kind of annoying because you can't really gauge which ones you have left, and that kind of adds a little bit of bloat. But for $4 and the amount of content, regardless of how annoying it is to get to each of the individual levels, I would have to say is a solid high A tier. I'm gonna actually put them above the legendary dungeons because these are just ESO maps that were like redesigned to be Skyrim, like into Skyrim, but this all unique. Everything was unique, I believe. Every place looked different in their own way, and I had a different story to tell about each of them, especially the Dwemer airships. Survival settings. For $2, you can make survival mode actually a bearable thing. I would say that is a given S tier. It doesn't matter if it's low S tier, it's still S tier. Being able to set your carry weight to be normal and fast shovel with survival mode on and whatever else you want to change, pretty good. This should have came with survival mode itself, but seeking out Scarlet, aka crafting a companion. I like this. I like the concept. For $2, her body parts are scattered throughout Skyrim, and you gotta find them all and then take her to the Daedric Forge underneath the Winterhold to craft her up. I don't believe she's custom voice acted, but she's able to be a house Carl. I don't know where she is in my game. I have no clue. I might have to go back and figure out where I sent her, but I don't feel like I want to do that. But for $2, craftable companion, I'd say it's above Archer's Ornaments. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Speaking of Longtooth Layer vampires for $4, I don't like that. You can get a player home and it has a few ways to get it. You can get a vampire dog companion, but you need to side with the Valkyrie vampires to get it. And if not, you can find the key somewhere. I believe they added an alternate way into it. If you're doing a vampire roleplay or a vampire build, it's not a bad house. But for $4, I'd have to put it above, like below Yorgrim Hall, I would say. Probably above Shade Tree Lodge, but for the pricing, yeah, barely above it. Black Glass for $2, and this is a very, I don't know why it's so much space. It's like a very big file size for just black glass, but it looks really cool for $2, and you can't craft it conventionally either. You have to give black soul gems, so it's a little bit of grind, weighs less. I think it's more durable. But for this, I'm gonna have to say right here. It goes hand in hand with the other stuff. Can't really have these without the other. Yeah. Aether Forged Gigamall for $1. This is a unique weapon. It's got animated cogs and stuff. And in the same place that you go to get to it, you also have the unique Falmer weapon that I love, the enchant, which causes bleeding and slow. And for $1, I would say it's kind of a necessity. I'm gonna put it a little bit below that. Let's say that fits it right there. But by the same person, we got Magnet Sombertune. I don't know what happened with this place, but every time I keep fast traveling there on my game, it just crashes. It's $3, and the house is weirdly set up. I don't know what's really going through, what story's trying to tell, but I don't want to do this to him, but it's kind of a mess. I wouldn't say avoid at all costs, but it's very close because it crashes. It's kind of worse than this one because this looks bad, but this crashes for me. So actually, I'm gonna put it right here. I'm gonna actually, as much as this works, this kind of works, this just doesn't work. All right, Bloodletter. No, I'm sorry, Bloodlust for $1. Blood Elven armor and weapons. I will get back to this in a minute. I will skip it for now. Let's move on to this, which is another magnet thing, Genesis. I don't know what drugs he was on when he was making this, but for $2, you can wear a barrel, ride a barrel, and there's some like weird spells or powers or something for the pots. I don't understand it. I don't get it. But this one is actually pretty comical. So for that reason, I'm going to have to put it in low C tier. It does have some funny, it's kind of funny. Animated weapon series, Mayrune's Razor for $7. $7. You can have your blade spin around, being put back together on its pommel. Why does that have to be $7? Who knows? Is it recommended? Not for that price. Not for that price at all. If it was cheaper, if it was $2 or $3, or preferably $1, even if it was $2, I would say it would be right here. But because it's $7, I'm gonna put it with messages in a bottle. Probably above it because, this was kind of expensive, I believe. Yeah, $5 for messages in the bottle. Ridiculous. This one has, at least you'll be using this, not this. So, Witches Festival. One of my favorites, actually. For $3. And I also found out the guy who made this, or girl, I don't know, is also working on the Skyblivion thing. So that's cool. That's cool. The unique weapons for grinding out the miscellaneous. It gives the miscellaneous objectives a reason to be done, which is really cool. I opted to just duplicate it, though. Let's be honest. I don't want to do it. But you can grind it out, get some uniquely named and colored vanilla weapons, which isn't, too bad. Custom voice acted. There's a story behind it. You build up a coven, an actual good coven, unlike these guys. I would say for $3, it's even got its own custom soundtrack. I'm going to put it above Forest of Ice, but below Blood and Snow, because this is like DLC, like official DLC level content from here this way. Official DLC this way. And then the rest is like very good mods. Morningstar. Same thing about the bows with this. I love the look. The look's really nice. However, it falls off at the midpoint, and therefore it makes it redundant. You can't beat $3. I think Archer's Ornaments was the same price, or a little bit cheaper, I think. Let me check just in case. $2. Archer's Ornaments was $2. Morningstar's was $3. This melee weapons, it's bows, but this so-so. So-so. All right, the Magic of Madness. This for $1. I'm not entirely sure what got added here. I remember getting the Minotaur horns. You can't really tell the difference between this and the rare curios, but this adds an extra place in the Rift and Sewers that you can go to get this stuff. So I would say it's all right, for $1, and it adds a little bit more, but you can't really tell. You can't really tell it's there. It's kind of one of those, like, you have to look for it to see it. And I would say for that reason, I'm going to put it a little bit above that, a little below the Treehouse one. I'll put the dialogue at A tier. But that's a personal opinion. Aberration of the Dwemer. Now, for $5, just like the Covenant Crones, you have a new player space dedicated to be like the equivalent of Mehrunes, Dagon. I think that's his name. Dagon's Oblivion realm, It's like the equivalent of that, but I think it's Nocturnal's realm. There's a lot of Easter eggs. There's a lot of unique things. And for $5 and being able to talk to and communicate with the the mod author of this, you know, for him helping me out and stuff through it, mentioning the player home and stuff. Really nice guy. And I'm not gonna, you know, treat it any different than the other creations though, even if he has like commented on my videos and stuff. The critiques I had with this, you know, there was some pathing bugs, but he addressed them. And I wasn't quite a fan of how hidden the vault keys were in this. The one made sense. The last one didn't. The friends along the way did not. And the the key for the house, it could have been anywhere. But I'm not detracting that. That's just a skill issue for me. So I'm gonna put it above the Witches Festival. I'm gonna put the Apparition of Dwemer above the Witches Festival because this adds a new player zone. But there wasn't any choices for this. The Covenant Crones was just, it had a theme. This was a little bit of, you know, there was a theme, but there was also very cool areas, but both had their strengths and weaknesses. Yeah, I might actually put it above Blood and Snow because some of this stuff was a little buggy too. So yeah, right here. I'd say that's pretty good, you know, because this was a whole team. This, I believe he made it himself. When you have a whole team versus one person, the fact that one person went this far into it, that's pretty good. It's pretty good. Tel Mithrin residence. I'm just gonna say right now, I could not get this to work. Did not like it. Small, cramped. It's for $1 though, but for $2, I still couldn't get it to work. Could not find the guy's body for the key. Had to unlock it myself. Don't really recommend it. All right. The Mysteries of Cloudreach Barrow for $2. And a boss fight. Had some puzzles and stuff on it. I liked it. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of forgot what happened. So it's kind of forgettable, but I do remember the boss fight. It was pretty nice. For $2, I'd say it's above the Spirit and the Sword because it adds a new dungeon, but it's not quite as bad as these. Or not bad, but like it's more, a little bit more involved. Cold Harbor Armor. Now this guy, I don't know how to feel about this guy. I don't know how, because everyone has like their own like naming conventional ways and stuff. Like this guy, the guy who made the magnet, he had his own like set of how he structured things in the description or in the enchant things. This guy also has his way of doing it, but I cannot tell if the enchants on this stuff actually work or it's bugged out and just doesn't get the enchant. But for $6, you get basically Molag Bal's armor, and you have to go into the house to get to it, and you get his great sword. I don't agree with the price, and it's a little weird. It's a little weird with the way the description of the enchantments is. I don't quite understand it. I'd say if it's a little bit cheaper, I could recommend it higher. But as for that, I would have to put it below Fallen Heroes. Speaking of Fallen Heroes, the guy who made that also made the Paladins pack, which, you know, also had that ESL to ESP, and I lost everything again. And yeah, $5. The armor, the weapons, the armor doesn't look that good on a female character, but the weapons look really nice. I'm not gonna lie. They look really nice. There's a story And this got updated to have like a small dungeon that you had to go fight some things to get some other pieces, some paladin steel. I would say it's below, it's above ancient civilization collection, but it's below Forgotten Armory. It's somewhere in the middle. The Trinity, and then the stepchild. All right. Elsewhere, Cabinet of Curiosities. Now this, let's go gambling. Ah, dang it. Ah, dang it. For $8, I didn't realize it was that expensive. Well, either way, for $8, you can go gambling. You find these totems, the silver, electrum, and platinum relics in random chests and vases. And then you could pull literally 80 different items from a loot table. And they're all, a lot of them are uniquely designed, but some of the weapons and some of the armor isn't. But regardless of, you know, the other stuff, like you get some rare ingredients, some potions, some miscellaneous stuff that you could probably decorate your house with, like the stuffed bird, for example. But the things I really like are like the specialty items that you can equip, like they're like trinkets. I really like that. I would have to put it above. I would say it's above Witches Festival because I really like the RNG. I'm not sure how it works, but gambling puts it above the Witches Festival. All right. Now, sorry, Lonely Servine. Again, sorry. Um, Vardenfell Arrows and Bolts pack. I I know that they're trying to make PlayStation included, but therefore it limits everything. It limits what you're able to do with it. And because of that, even though it's $1, the arrows, the arrow assets are kind of lazy. Finding the character, she only sells 5 arrows. 5 arrows at a time? Why? Why would you do that? I'm gonna have to put it at avoid at all costs. It's slightly above your house attempt, but you could craft it at the anvil and stuff. That is the only like redeeming thing. In fact, because you can craft it, it's very, very low D. In fact, I might put it above the Talmithrin Resonance, because at least this worked. This didn't. Dr. Jacopos, I think that's his name, Jacopos. His plant pack, volume 1. I would put all 7. There was one in volume 2 that's out, but I don't know what happened to it. So we only have volume 1. I think he might have listened to one of my videos where I said just pack it all into one collection and then sell it that way. Give it for $1 each. I'm pretty sure I helped influence that. I don't know. I don't want to say I did. If he does watch this and says I don't, but this is exactly what I would have done if I was him. So for $6, I cannot recommend this quite really, because I don't want to say the Nexus, but considering it's the only thing that changes the vegetation and visuals, I would have to give it a low A tier for $1 per. I wouldn't recommend it compared to the Nexus, but I told you in the beginning of this video, I'm not comparing it to the free Nexus alternatives. So because it's the only thing that enhances the visuals of the grass and stuff, I'd have to give it a low A tier. Black Albion armor with this, it's $8. That was $8. Pretty cool looking books, pretty weird characters. The only thing that keeps it above the Cold Harbor armor is the fact that you can do a scavenger run and you can find the black armor set in these cool looking Oblivion styled chests. And I would say it falls just right above the Cold Harbor set. It is $8 though, which kind of sucks, which kind of keeps it at C tier. Otherwise, I'd put it higher up if it was cheaper, but it's not. South Pine Forge. This creation can pretty much be a challenge run, honestly, if you wanted to just make money from being a smith. I would recommend it. You can take it's like Ars Metallica without being Ars Metallica. The only problem is you cannot deconstruct bone mold, cannot deconstruct Daedric, and cannot deconstruct glass with this, or leather, or scald. There's like a handful of armors you can't deconstruct, and I don't understand why. But for $4 and the fact you can technically, deconstruct and get better equipment, especially if you combine it with this one right here, which we'll go over in a sec, get a lot of refined moonstone, and then proceed to go to the Dawnguard thing to make all those elven arrow variants. Pretty nice combination, if I do say so myself. So even though it's $4, it does have a useful mechanic behind it. I would say it falls actually right above these, because this one has a travel, this one has a deconstruct, so could put it to use. Dragon Slayer. Can't say much about this mod right now because I've not done it yet, but from what I've seen, and it adds a bunch of other players into a lot of characters into Sovngarde, Jurgen Windcaller himself, the fact that if you don't kill the Dragon Priest, Alduin summons them, the fact if you wait forever, Alduin becomes more powerful. I like it. And for $3, I would say that is pretty much a steal. Probably a little bit above Witches Festival. I'm sorry you're getting pushed down. It's just this enhances the vanilla game so much. I'm sorry. Yondo Witch for $4. Yikes. It adds a new hair for I think the women character. I don't think you have to be a red guard to get it. But I'm just going to say, for the fact you can throw a shield like Captain America, that by itself gives it a high C tier. Just the fact you could throw the shield at people, that is the funniest shit I've ever seen. Don't really care for the weapon, the sword that you get. The staff looks cool, never used it. The dress and the sandals and the earrings, I don't really care for it. Moving on, a classic gel experience for $1. You have the downsides of going to gel from the other games. I don't know why you would do that, but I guess it's some role-playing thing, and for $1 it kind of adds to the game, but I personally don't really like it. But if you're looking to add challenge to your game, I would probably have to say it's a low B tier, because it's whatever. You know what? I'm gonna lower these because even though it's cheap, I can't put Yondo Witch before behind those, because there is quality. The Atmoran shields. Yeah, I think it's a base. There's 28 new shields, apparently. I guess most of them are just different colors. But I'm gonna put it right in between the Morning Stars. Actually, I'm gonna put it below the Morning Stars because I like the way it looks, but at the same time, like I said with the archers, it kind of falls off during the mid game, so it's kind of stuck in this like limbo of it's whatever. But I'd say it's pretty solid. It definitely adds a lot to your world when you start adding all this other stuff to it. And Carnation of Charm. Now, the dev got back with me really quick. When I had a problem, they responded in like 5 minutes upon me joining the server and asking them. I did have a problem. They told me it was on the table. It wasn't on the table technically, but I got the child for them like for the Temple of Dibella, and then it spawned in. Small little like mystery, adds I think 2 places, and then it like a sanguine rose. I wouldn't say it's like DLC worthy, but for $2, I would say it's an A. I don't even remember what the thing does, but the fact it adds the red death bells, a new ingredient. You know how much I love ingredients. I love it. Aside from, when they, yeah, I guess it's still there. So right there, a castle of chaos. So I'm gonna put this in probably uh probably before these. I don't it for $1, all the elven stuff. It's a very simple dungeon. It's pretty much a square and some scaffolds you go up through, fight a bandit queen. Bandit queen's really tough, by the way. Very tough. But for all the stuff you get from it, I would recommend getting that, honestly, especially with the South Pine Forge, wherever it is. Right here. If you combine this with this, oh man, you're talking about lots and lots of moonstones. And this can also be claimed by Eastern Empire expansion. I think. I believe. So that's cool. Bedlam for $5. I'm just gonna go ahead and say right now the fact that it adds random town attacks by random factions and the fact you can turn everything up to like 11, I would say it gets the same treatment as survival settings, maybe a little bit higher than survival settings, because although it costs a decent amount, it tries to make the world more immersive. And there's some things that gets added to this that I'm not quite too sure of. I think it registers what enemies are there and what normally spawns with it. I'm not sure how it works, but it works really well, especially when you pick the immersive setting. But you can do a challenge run with that too by having everything cranked up to 11, so it's complete chaos all the time. RZ Ornaments Pack. Go to Labyrinthian, grab a mace, grab a shield. The shield looks cool. The Morning Star looks kind of like these, and having both of them in the game, it's kind of confusing. But $3, it's so. I hope they add better ornaments, but I think only thing good out of this, I'm not gonna really give the Morning Star a chance because of these. I like the look of these better than this one, but I like the shield in this than, because it's like this is like realistic fantasy and this is like high, you know, unrealistic fantasy, if that makes any sense. I mean, because this is like medieval, this is fantasy actually. That's a better way to describe it. So with this, I'm gonna say it is a C tier above Lost Doomstone. I could see some use, but it's whatever. It's just more like a trinket to collect. All right, now we can go back to Bloodlust. Bounties of the North. Great voice acting, great bosses. It is $7. However, each of these bosses is unique, has different mechanics, and I would recommend this I would recommend this a lot because it also has Bloodlust, which I'm also going to add here. And the only problem, I'm going to add it a little bit below Zilla's light armor because it gets some points docked because this also has that armor. So technically, if you buy this, there's no need to buy this anymore because one of the bosses wears the blood elven. But this allows you to craft it. This one just gives it to you as like a a unique. So technically, this isn't unneeded by this mod, but this mod is still cool nonetheless because of all the voice acting from every character. And of course, we have Lalu's treasures. Now, I had the golden claw on Lucan Valerius's shop counter, and I never stole it to pick it up. And when I installed this, it changes his interior. The golden claw was no longer there, so it erases the golden claw. If you get this while putting the golden claw while it's still on there, it'll just erase it from existence. This is fine if you started a new game, however, because the golden claw wouldn't be there to get erased in the first place. The problems start coming in when you realize this is $5. There was some stuff on the Xbox creations thing that had the limeware, the redware. It was a bunch of the decoration stuff. For $5, I don't recommend this because the armor he has, it's kind of dumb. The Colovian fur helm. I'm pretty sure this is I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's a meme with the Colovian fur helm. I'm pretty sure it's a meme, but I'm gonna give it a I think right here. Actually, no. Because this is more expensive and this is 5 minutes for $5. And then this is 7 minutes for like one weapon. I don't know what's worse. I'm gonna probably say that actually. That seems a little bit better. I mean, this does, it's close. But that is my tier list. I would save this and let you guys, send your own rankings. But by the time I make this, there'll be another probably set out, and this list will be practically out of date. But as far as everything is concerned, that is my tier list. I'm actually going to save this for the next 100 episodes. I don't know how long that'll be, probably a few years actually, but I'm gonna save this, and the next 100 episodes will add on to this. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like, subscribe, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye-bye.